Shane Metcalf is a seasoned executive coach and speaker who is obsessed with building healthy organizations and creating the opportunity for people to have meaningful work and meaningful relationships. We just had a great conversation during lunch about the healthy masculinity fishbowl that he took a part of. And what I was really struck by was his willingness to share vulnerably as a man, as an executive, things that we don't talk about at work. And that's also what 15.5 is looking to do for managers within organizations. As Chief Culture Officer, Shane understands what fundamentally motivates people, how to architect high performance, and which principles and rituals create self-organizing cultures. 15.5 has a new podcast and a methodology about best self-management, and that's what he's going to be speaking about today. So can I get a standing ovation and warm welcome for Shane Metcalf?
Thank you, Robin. All of these companies have something in common. And what they have in common with every single one of your companies. This is not a slide of our logos. These are not our customers. Some of them are, some of them are not. But the thing that all of these companies have in common is that they do not exist. Your company is a legal fiction. We live in this dream that our companies are real things. We actually have a corporation identified as a legal person. It's not true. We make this shit up. And there's good and bad news about that. Because the thing that is actually real are people. The people inside of these companies are the actual reality. The people are who dream the company into being, and the company is the dream. And so the good news of this is that we get to continually dream a better dream. There's not actually predefined limitations to how we can build companies. I mean, heck, this year I decided to create a program where we buy every member of 15.5's team their first ticket to Burning Man, if they want to go. Nobody's ever done that before. Reporters were asking me, well, I want to cover the story, but can you tell me 4 or 5 other companies that are doing this? Nobody else is doing it. And we have this privilege as business leaders to come up with new things. So many of our business problems are actually people problems, because our businesses are just individual human beings relating and collaborating with other individual human beings. How many companies have failed because the founders didn't clear their childhood trauma, didn't actually overcome their own anxious, avoidant attachment styles, which then bleeds over into their leadership and can push people away. So, a couple of depressing stats. 84% of people are merely showing up to work, AKA they're disengaged. 58% of people surveyed in this study said that they trust strangers more than their managers. 79% of people cite a lack of appreciation as the reason for leaving their role. And heart attacks spike by 20% Monday mornings. We've been measuring engagement since the 90s, and we really haven't seen much improvement. Now, certainly employee engagement is probably better than 500 years ago in feudal society, but we have so much room for improvement. And so, those stats are revealing. And what it shows is that we are operating the status quo, the mainstream business culture is one of fear and self-preservation. And there are enormous consequences to that. The actual external results of low engagement, poor health, chronic stress, debilitating anxiety. It's really a dismal state, and it can be a reflection of some of the broader themes that we're struggling with and we're grappling with in humanity. There's the progress paradox, where our quality of living, life span, overall basic needs being met have gone up dramatically, but mental well-being has gone down. And all of these external results, one of the interesting things is that every external result is directly connected to an internal experience. It's one of the things I love that's happening in the business world is that we're beginning to reckon that we have internal realities. That each one of us in this room has an inner world. Our thoughts, emotions, feelings, beliefs, our stories, our traumas. One of the beautiful things about the healthy masculinity yesterday was creating in a business context a space for people to reveal what's on the inside to the outside. And it helps to understand, how did we get here? Nothing in this world just happened by accident or came out of nowhere. And if you look at the business world, there's two models that we have taken most of our organizational thinking and design structure from. That is the military, which was the only effort, the only collective endeavor that knew how to manage large amounts of people effectively. And it's incredibly effective. Command and control is an amazing way to get large numbers of people to follow orders and to move in the same direction. But in the military, you aren't really asking your people how they're feeling. You aren't concerned with the internal sense of belonging. And then the other dominant model is that of a machine, the Industrial Revolution, saying businesses are machines, humans are resources. You put coal in the oven, you generate heat, you spin the turbine, and you get energy. You use humans as resources. And think about the metaphors that we speak in our businesses with. We're killing it. We need some reinforcement on this team. We're going to win the air wars. And this pursuit of conformity and efficiency has stripped us of our humanity. We thought that the best way to run a company and to create results is to strip the human being down to its essential pieces. Discard our feelings, discard our emotions, discard our ambitions, play to our self-interested economic motives. That's how you motivate people. And in a world where creativity and innovation are the only way that we're going to win, we need to bring back the full human being. We need to bring our own humanity back to the table. We need to activate the intelligence of our heart. We need to understand that our guts are full of neurons. And that when we create that alignment, when we start actually aligning ourselves, that is when our genius comes online. That is when we start to realize our greatest potential. Self-actualization is the process by which a person knows that who they can become, they must become. There is a better way. What an incredible moment to be in business. We have unprecedented levels of understanding. And what we need to do is weave those into our companies. So, best self-management that I'm going to share a little bit about is an experiment we've been running internally at 15.5 for the past 8 years. From day one, we decided to build a company whose sole purpose was to unlock the potential of every member of our team. We have a 5.0 on Glassdoor. In 8 years, we've had 5 voluntary departures. Almost all of those were because they wanted to go surf or open a cafe, pursue their dreams. And what I'm really proud of is that 97% of our employees report being a better version of themselves for having worked at our company. We make a commitment to our people that I personally am invested in whenever you leave 15.5 and throughout, that you have opportunities to become a happier, a healthier, a more fulfilled and competent and ultimately effective human being. So what's amazing is that we're in a renaissance of our understanding about human beings, about human thriving. Our own ignorance is no longer an excuse about not having the resources and awareness and understanding of what actually goes into human beings being their best. Starting 100 years ago, there was this understanding of, okay, well, psychology is so focused on pathology, on sick people. And slowly, Maslow doing his groundbreaking research. And just in the last 20 years, we're seeing this explosion of our scientific understanding, of our aesthetic understanding of human beings. Look around this campus. It's filled with art. That has an impact. We are so blessed to be standing on the shoulders of giants. But we all know that academic research is academic, and we have real businesses to run. But what's so cool is that we get to be the ones who put the theories to test, where we get to say, how do we build cultures of authority that is rooted in trust, not rooted in fear? Think about what is possible when you have an organization that through its culture and design and daily interactions becomes a healing organization. Or instead of starting a job and experiencing a downward spiral, you actually reverse that. And your friends and your loved ones in your life say, I've never seen you smile so much. People all the time say, well, this is all really cool, but I've got developers on my team. I have cynical people that are scientifically minded and don't want any of the woo-woo, NorCal, touchy-feely crap. And we have teams of developers in Eastern Europe. Not a smiley culture. And watching them go through this process of transformation and of discovering how joyful our work can help us become, how we can begin to have space inside of our companies to tell our human stories. So, best self-management is a new leadership and management paradigm that creates unprecedented levels of high performance and loyalty through the art and science of human thriving. There's 3 pillars that we believe are the master buckets that, if you look at all of the research, all the science, you can begin to understand that it all falls under self, which is support people in being and becoming their best selves. Other, which is cultivating relational mastery. And you then bring that all together by creating a powerful shared context. So let's talk about context. We work for legal fictions. These companies don't actually exist. Zappos is just a piece of paper filed with the government. And yet, they've created this incredible sense of mission and purpose. They have a clear why. And then articulating values of this is how we fulfill the mission. This is the operating code for our day-to-day conduct. You want to create group habits, rituals that reinforce. For instance, we have 3 all-hands meetings every week. We're distributed around the world, around the country. And 2 of those meetings they're all 30 minutes. 2 of those meetings are focused on the business and ongoing trainings. But every Monday morning, the first 5 minutes of our all-hands, we spend 5 minutes to be grateful. We have a guided gratitude meditation. Wednesdays, we have a different meditation master, which is a different employee that rotates out every month. And they lead us in 5 minutes of experimental meditation. And they do all kinds of weird stuff. But it's 5 minutes of stepping out of our normal, transactional, left brain, linear problem solving and business thinking to connect as human beings, to just be in silence for a few minutes. And so there's all kinds of different examples of this. Oh, on Friday, we do Question Friday, where we ask a question and everybody in the company answers it. And it's amazing the power of a question to have people reveal, to share their dreams, their hopes, their fears, their embarrassing childhood memories, their ambitions of who they believe they can be. Because if we don't ask people, they'll never answer. And cultural principles. What are the standards of operating in your company? We have embrace freedom and flexibility. Is it okay to work anywhere in the world? Are we measuring outcomes versus output? And this is by no means definitive lists of everything that is within creating the context. But if you can do these things, what you're going to do is you're going to create a magnet that everybody can organize around, align themselves with, discover how their own values match up with yours. That vision, leading with vision, is what leadership is really intended to do. This is just the cutest picture ever. And I love it because, human beings can feel like different species at times. People are so different. And what we want to do is we want to build companies that provide opportunity for us to cultivate relational mastery. It's one of the things that, if anyone's listened to Sapiens, they talk about what differentiated Homo sapiens from other species of humans was our ability to collaborate, was our ability to work together in harmony towards a collective goal. A friend from the military shared with me that the single greatest lesson he learned from the military is that unity is the greatest force multiplier known to humankind. And we need to be good at relationships if we're going to do that. And most of us don't really have training in relating. It's not, our school system hasn't been designed to educate and develop our emotional intelligence. And so a lot of us as so-called adults in our companies are still in our infancy and our preteens when it comes to our EQ, when it comes to empathy and how to listen to understand, where how to give feedback, and perhaps more importantly, how to receive feedback. There's a concept in positive psychology called the positivity ratio. And it comes from, there's a lot of really interesting research. One of the more interesting ones comes from this gentleman named John Gottman. And he's a marriage counselor. And he got well known because he could predict with 90% accuracy after listening to a couple for 2 minutes whether they'd be together in 2 years or not. Not the kind of guy you want to invite to your dinner party. And one of the key things on that is that relationships thrive when you have the proper ratio of positive emotional interactions to negative emotional interactions. And there's a lot of debate in the academic world of whether it's 3-to-1, 5-to-1, 8-to-1. But you need to have more positive emotional interactions than negative. And so just think, in your companies, what's your positivity ratio? Because when we start to have that right ratio, we start to relax a little bit. Our brains start to unhook from our survival instinct. Trust and vulnerability, the capacity to tell the truth, to be who we are, to reveal ourselves, leading with empathy and curiosity, understanding that most of the impact of our communication is very little with what we say, but it's about how we say it. It is our energetic presence. Some studies have said that it's up to 93% of our communication is nonverbal. And as leaders, as human beings, we always have an energetic presence. We can't step out of our energetic presence and then lead. Our energetic presence is our leadership. And so, can we bring our intention to that? Can we begin to master how we feel and therefore begin to have the desired impact on others? And finally, we need to orient our companies, our performance management, our learning, our purpose as a company around supporting people and being and becoming their best selves. So there's some really cool research happening of how do we unlock our potential. And within the bucket of reflection, so reflection is thinking about our past, mining our past experience for insights. This is journaling, this is writing, thinking about our experience that we've just had, how our childhood traumas show up in our current life, how our perceived notions about what masculinity is that we were informed of from our fathers or from society. Understanding all of that lives within us, and it must not go unexamined. Prospection, thinking about the future, imagining who we want to be. Who do we know we're capable of becoming? What impact do I want to have on my company? How good can work be? How do I want to use my strengths? And introspection. How do I feel right now? What's the quality of my inner being? And all of these tie in to each other. They all feed in. We want to create a shared context of psychological safety so that we know we will not be punished for telling the truth. There's a shared context that there's value in taking a few short minutes every week to engage in reflection, to think about once a quarter, what does it mean to be my best self? Really helping people develop radical strengths awareness. Shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Managing our energy, not just our time. And again, these are, we recently started mapping out all of the concepts and all of the scientific modalities and understandings, and we have hundreds. There's no shortage of information. It's about developing systems and processes through cultural automation to put our companies on a conveyor belt of development. And see, even conveyor belt, mechanistic metaphors. So I love this quote from Paulo Coelho, that the reward of our work is not what we get, but who we become. And so let us build companies that are worthy of the lives that are invested in them. Thank you very much.